So the other day I did a quick tutorial on customizing the Shift Right Mouse Button marking menu, and I realized I never did the one for the Right Mouse Button marking menu. It's hard to say. So again, it's context sensitive. So if you have nothing selected, you get this menu. If you have an object selected, it gives you component selections. Let's see if I have a curve or a joint. What happens? I get a joint specific menu. If I have a curve selected, I get a curve specific marking menu. But what I'm going to do is look at the one that's the default when you have nothing selected. So it's set to complete and select all. Like these are things I never do. I don't know why they're in there. I think part of me thinks that they did this on purpose so that people would start exploring and change things. So as before, I'm going to open up the script editor. I'm going to echo all commands, click real quick. This is where the menu is. Turn off echo all commands, and this is the command I'm looking for, this build object menu items now menu. If I drop that in here, you see it turns blue. That says, hey, it's a command that I know. It's only going to work with Mel. It's not going to work with Python. If I do what is, make sure you capitalize the I, and I run that, it gives me a where that Mel script exists. I'm going to copy that and just in Explorer drop it in, and it'll automatically open up my text editor for me, which is great. And this is the one that exists in the Maya 2020 scripts of the program files. So you don't want to overwrite this one. So I'm going to file save as into, perfect, it put me right where I wanted to go, into my documents, Maya 2020 pref scripts, because I've done this a few times. But you do want to, make sure it's just the script and not the full path down there. All right. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that script and drop it into Maya to source it. And you see you get your source command right there. So this time what I'm going to do is just make it there so I can just quickly hit it. Actually, what I'll do is I'll throw it up on the shelf temporarily so I can quickly resource that L script. So what I'm first going to do is get a few commands that I want to add in here. So ones I like a lot are new scene, open scene, save scene as, set project. That should be good. Whoops. And the reason I use save scene as is because I don't really like to use save scene because it'll overwrite your older file. So if something does get corrupted, you've lost work. So I almost always increment or save scene as. We can throw increment in there, so let's do that. There we go. That's increment. So let me grab new scene to start with. Command is just new scene, pretty easy to remember. And I'll go here, and if I go to the bottom of the menu here, you'll see where it says nothing was hit, check selection highlight list. So basically what's happening is it says nothing's been selected, there's nothing underneath the mouse. Just give us this generic menu. And you can see here you have that one that says select all and the one that says complete current tool. You'll also notice under version it says 2014. So that's when this script was originally written and hasn't been updated since then. If you want to have that show up, you can change it to 2020. I'll just show you what that does. If I source it and run it, you see it turns green to say, it's a new item if you have that turned on. So, but instead of overwriting those, what I'll do is I will just add in some, and we'll play around with where they exist. So if you look at the menu item command, this is the label, which actually uses the UI res tells Maya what resolution to make your fonts and text and things like that. I'm not going to bother with that. Radial position is where it's going to be. So you have north, south, but you have north, south, east, west, and then northwest, southwest, northeast, southeast. But that's all you get. And then the command. That's really all you need. So I'll grab this one and drop it under my edit. And again, spacing in Mel doesn't matter. Line breaks in Maya in Mel don't matter. So I said this before, is like Mel can be sloppy. So if you write it sloppy, it is sloppy. If you don't write it sloppy, it's not sloppy. So like I said, this can be all one line as long as you have that semicolon at the end to tell it that's the end of the line. I normally depending on what I'm doing and how much I care, I'll either, do it like this with indentations, or I'll just do it as a single line. It really doesn't matter in Mel. It's more just for human readability. And again, white space, and if you have too many spaces, it doesn't care. If you have, I can even have bad indentations, it doesn't care. So anyway, let's get this semi back to something not so hideous. Like that. Oops, I lost my. And in Mel, that these little dashes denote that it's a flag or an input. So I'm going to change this to new scene. Whoops, capital new, capital scene. I'm going to put it in northwest, and I'm going to replace my UI res here with new scene. And I'm going to try and spell it right. The label's less important than the actual command, obviously. So save it, source it, and now we have new scene. I can get a new scene in there. Pretty cool. Open scene is a good one to have. So I'm going to grab that, drop it in, and again, line spacing doesn't matter. Sloppy is as sloppy writes. Drop that there, drop that there, and I'll put that into southwest, let's say. Make sure it's capitalized. So if you have, so now I can open a scene, or I can get new scene. And then let's do increment. So incremental save. Make sure you get the entire line, and again, fix it. Drop that there, drop that there. Cool. And this space would not necessarily be a problem, but I'm going to make sure. I just want to keep it clean-ish. Source it. I forgot to put in the radial position. So right now they're competing with each other. So I already have one in there, or southwest I think it was. So I want to make sure that I fix that. Cool. New scene, open scene, increment, and save. And what else did I grab? What's that? Oh, set project. Yeah, that's an important thing. Whenever you're using Maya, you always want to set your project before you start working. It just sets up the relationships so that Maya knows where to save things and where to look for things. It gets overlooked a lot, but it's super important. And let's put in that in southeast. And now if I source it, I have incremental save, new scene, open scene, set project. If you put something in without a radial position, it'll just drop it to the bottom. So, and yes, I should be saving, copying the menu item part before I do the command part. There we go. And if I drop that radial position, in this case, I'm just going to comment it out. Let's source it. You see save scene as ends up being underneath, right? And lastly, select all does not need to be highlighted. Cool. So now I have a quick way to access those things without having to, use my marking, my hotbox, or to go up there. And I still have a complete tool and select all, but I would overwrite those as well. Because how much are you really going to use those things? Probably never. But yeah, so I hope that works for everybody and makes sense. And if you have any questions, let me know. And yeah, see ya.